Anthony Albanese. He's under so much pressure over this anti-Jewish terrorism let loose under his watch that no wonder he today jumped at what looks like an excuse. It's foreigners who've been whipping up some of the burning Jewish targets. Nothing to do with anything our poor Prime Minister has done or not done.
It would appear, as the AFP Commissioner said yesterday, that some of these are being perpetrated by people who don't have a particular issue, aren't motivated by an ideology, but are paid actors.
And even better, that Federal Police Commissioner today repeated to the cameras what it said only in a press release late yesterday.
We believe criminals for hire may be behind some incidents. So part of our inquiries include who is paying those criminals, where those people are, whether they are in Australia or offshore, and what their motivation is.
How grateful Albanese must be for anything that might suggest that this explosion of Jew hatred here has nothing to do with his anti-Israel rabble-rousing, as he touts for Muslim and Green votes. How useful for a Prime Minister under such enormous criticism over his weakness in dealing with this new terrorism, if he can claim that some of the people terrifying Jews, firebombing synagogues, cars, even childcare centres, aren't motivated by an ideology like Islam, but are randoms, just paid by foreigners. Now, for operational reasons, the AFP isn't saying what information they've got to back up the suggestion that local criminals may be paid by foreign players in cryptocurrency to attack Jewish targets here. Maybe the AFP boss is playing mind games with his real targets. But I respect him. He's a serious man. So let's take him at his word. It's actually not hard then to guess who these foreign actors are that he's probably talking about. Now, the opposition speculates it could be Iran, but I don't know. I doubt the Iranian embassy would know how to safely contact street criminals in Australia and pay them to torch things. But there are organisations that are Muslim or Middle Eastern which certainly do know that, and in fact have already burned down scores of buildings in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Perth and Adelaide. These are gangs alleged to involve members of Middle Eastern backgrounds, local gangs especially. All this is allegedly from Victoria, who are fighting over the illegal tobacco trade in a war that so far had around 200 shops set on fire, including 131 in Victoria and 14 in Sydney. Now, these are also, again, often fires lit by street hoods or sometimes even children. But the gangs that pay them, they are serious. And we have seen many examples of many senior gang figures now living or hiding overseas, almost always in Muslim countries, including Iraq and Lebanon and Kuwait, the UAE, Turkey, Malaysia. And it's a guess, of course, I know, why any gang members might now be burning Jewish targets as well. Pose as Muslim heroes, maybe. Attract foot soldiers from other Middle Eastern crime gangs. Or maybe please the people protecting them in Muslim countries. Or could they have been recruited by some country to create havoc here? Still could be Iran. In fact, you know, the head of Britain's MI5 last year said there had been 20 Iranian-backed plots targeting United Kingdom citizens and residents since the start of 2022. 20. And in these plots, Iranian state actors make extensive use of criminals as proxies, from international drug traffickers to low-level crooks. And indeed, investigators in Germany and France last September said Iranian agents acted through European drug traffickers to spy on Jews in France and Germany. But like I said, the AFP Commissioner isn't going to comment on all that. I'm guessing he's saying the minimum he needs to say to, you know, shake the tree and see what flies out, what messages get sent out. I don't know. Now, if his theory sounds a little bit out there to you, hear this from the New South Wales Premier, who seemed to suggest again that some of these attacks are not just the work of local scumbags acting alone.
This is not just malicious damage or random graffiti, as appalling as that would be if it was racially motivated. These are sophisticated attacks.
But, however glad Albanese may be about this theory that foreign players are behind the worst attacks, or at least Australians overseas, who knows, he is a fool if he thinks it saves him. Because overseas actors haven't been bashing Jews in our streets or screaming abuse at Jews outside synagogues or chanting, "Where's the Jews?" outside the Sydney Opera House, or preaching Jew hatred in mosques here, or menacing Jewish students at universities or abusing Jewish artists at performances, and in 1,000 different ways making Jews feel persecuted like never before in Australia. And even these overseas actors, if they have been organising the burnings of synagogues, they may well be Australians as well. Some, potentially, from families we should never have let migrate here, importing hatreds that our politicians didn't understand or wouldn't admit. Now, it's true that not everyone charged so far with anti-Semitic attacks appears to be from Muslim or the Middle East, but the conflict is born there. But I don't think Albanese understands how he's making all this worse. I think he should have known it 15 months ago, on the very day that Hamas slaughtered 1,200 Jews, that we are here too in a war to defend Western civilization. Albanese wouldn't see it. Maybe he was too greedy for votes of Muslims in the hard left. He betrayed Israel in the United Nations. He urged Israel to stop fighting for its survival. He gave tourism visas to 3,000 Palestinians from Jew-hating Gaza. And he kept, through things like that and more, legitimising the Jew haters by attacking Israel, helping to demonise it. And now he can only tut-tut about the way people are expressing that hatred and scramble like crazy again today to dodge responsibility. Like today, denying what I told you last night, that his government was actually going to send Senate President Sue Lines to Poland for the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, the camp where Nazis murdered 1 million Jews. I mean, can you believe it? Sending Sue Lines when she's campaigned against Israel, accused it of apartheid, accused it of war crimes, and called its creation a catastrophe. I mentioned all this last night. Oh no, said Albanese today. Sky News have got that all wrong. Lines wasn't going to lead this delegation. Probably isn't going at all.
I approve our international travel. Penny Wong will lead the delegation, accompanied by Mark Dreyfus. The reports were wrong. The person leading the delegation to Auschwitz is our Foreign Minister, Penny Wong.
He had no idea, our Prime Minister, how we had come to report such a silly story, how it had got out.
Was it ever going to be Sue Lines?
I have no idea where that came from.
Well, this is bizarre because as Cameron Redden here at Sky News has reported, has done some great reporting on this. It was actually a memo from Sneha Chatterjee, the first Assistant Secretary for Albanese's Department of Home Affairs, that actually listed Sue Lines as the head of the delegation, listed a staff member of hers also going. Wong and Dreyfus not even mentioned. Lines was going? Suddenly not. I mean, honestly, just be honest with this Prime Minister. But since Albanese started the show with Albanese quoting the Australian Federal Police, let's hear one more thing from them to sum it all up. Here's former AFP Detective Superintendent David Craig, who today summed up Albanese's leadership in this crisis.
Are you saying this federal government has allowed this sort of hate speech to fester?
100% I'm saying that. I've served under 6 different Prime Ministers in the Australian Federal Police, a lot of my time in counter-terrorism, and I've never seen such a Jelly George spineless response to hatred and un-Australian behaviour by a Prime Minister.
Can anyone say that man is wrong?